For sure. And I mean, you take a look at the draft that they had coming through in that game as well, the one they won, it was phenomenal. Probably the best drafting I've ever seen out of Columbia, where they fooled Maryville into banning Trundle for them. It was just next level mind games.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can see a little bit more of that team and a little less of the, hey, we're just going to grab Nocturne, Galio, and, run at it. Well, the ban clock does look to expire there. No, is Swain. Hey, just out of the last second. Stumpy.
Yeah.
Really making a meal out of that one for himself.
They do take that Swain off them again. They do have nightmares of Swain being picked against them. Again, they're showing respect to GMU's mid laner Route. They don't want Route to have that one because, I mean, I want to say we've even seen Route play Swain. I don't remember off the top of my head. I remember seeing in the southern, one of the southern matches, Swain was picked. Obviously, Swain overall doesn't matter. A big mid laner, whoever is going to be using it. Route, of course, he's here for a reason. He's second runner up in the Southern Conference. He's
right.
Very talented player, so they're going to take that one away, along with Victor. So they are focusing on Route, giving him a little bit of respect.
I think it's the same that they opted for last time around. Ban's not changing up too much. Morgana as well, so if George Mason goes for an Olaf, that would absolutely complete the same run of bans that they had on their side. Meanwhile, we'll see what they can do to target out George Mason. A little bit heavy here. Yeah, Victor banned last game, but it was in the second round, I believe. So they're leaving something up on the table. Trundle taken out and away. They want that one gone. So now GMU needs to take off the table the thing they're most worried about Columbia first picking.
Could be Camille, could be Olaf, could be Galio. There's a lot really to work with here that Columbia College have shown that they play. So it's a kind of a lot of head games going on for George Mason right now. I have to wonder what they're going to be able to pick, because this is the advantage of having blue side. So you get that first pick. They're going to take away Olaf, make sure Zach doesn't have that one. But now that does leave up Camille, which can give them Nocturne, Galio mid lane if Columbia College want to run that. We're going to see what Misty picks here first, because that determines a lot.
Really the case. Yeah, they need to solidify the composition off just the first pick. Sometimes it does get that far out and advance. Will the Xayah hover? Be no surprises there. They want to deny that one to Enrique. They kept bans the same for George Mason, so they're obviously worried about those three champions in particular. We'll see what now having the Xayah on the other side of the rift means for how they're going to pick here in the second round, because, traditionally we're so used to seeing AD, support, and jungle. This time maybe they want the Skarner for themselves. Red side Skarner going to be looking like the lock-in here.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to lock that one. And Xayah, good pick for Evan RL. He's actually adept at many ADCs, but Xayah was his main pick throughout the Swiss brackets, the Swiss format version of this Collegiate League of Legends tournament from Riot. He was incredible. He had the highest KDA in the North with Xayah, so and highest gold per minute. But we're gonna do a little flip flopping here. So we see Jin being hovered over, locked in. That's gonna go to Enrique instead of NRL this time. And again, like you said, Skarner gonna go in that jungle. So they have a game plan already showing on the side of George Mason. Meanwhile, there's a lot of the things that Columbia College works with. I haven't seen Jarvan in the jungle for Zach in quite a while. Like I said, he's been kind of playing playing Zach, Sejuani, Skarner, Olaf, Nocturne. Sejuani would be more of the comfort pick that I've seen and I'm used to here, and that's what they're going to lock in.
Jarvan, Sejuani, it's pretty early on into the season kind of picks here, so we'll be reverting to that one, but still so strong and still something that we know that Zach is going to be able to come and just absolutely pop off with. So we'll see if they don't pick themselves up a support to go down there with Evan RL. And it looks like the Rakan. So I wonder, does this leave open the Tom Kench? Do they opt to full swing over in the lane phase? We know it's something Jin Tom Kench that Enrique and Alex do play, and they're not giving away too much of their composition. So, hey,
look at that.
Look at that. They do opt for it, and that's going to be a pretty big takeaway, all things considered here.
Yeah, and of course we saw that last game. Tom Kench going to be able to save you, especially with those Sejuani ults coming in, or even Rakan going in there. They're going to take away the Galio. Give that take away some of that mid lane pressure. Again, Julian does play a lot of Galio in the mid lane to coordinate ganks with Zach. Usually when he's Nocturne, but Julian does well on Galio no matter, and you kind of use Hero's Entrance no matter who the jungler is. So gonna take that one away. But that is something that Columbia College also likes to have, is some sort of long range engage or presence, whether it be the package from Corki, which we've seen Julian use a lot, Hero's Entrance, or even Realm War we saw last game. So going to take a lot of that off the table here now that Nocturne is not going to be picked.
Yeah, it's really actually a bit of a fault in Colombia's core composition draft because it's like a Jenga tower. You just pull out the right piece and the whole idea kind of caves in on itself. So just by denying the Galio, they've broken so many other picks that they know they don't have to worry about the Nocturne. Not obviously with Sejuani already picked.
Right.
Nocturne's not going to be a thing. But by taking out the Galio, this also means the Camille, not something you're likely to see. And so it adds a lot of just drafting potential to the table there.
It could just take it to top lane anyways. I mean, just rely on his individual mechanics.
Yeah, so it's not a bad pickup here, and we definitely saw Stumpy having a favorable run
that's more
over Ione, but the Gangplank going to fit a lot better with just what they're looking to accomplish here. They've already got the makings of some really good pick potential and siege potential coming out of the side of Colombia. The Cannon Barrage is just going to add so much to that, and with Julian ending up on that rise again, this is going to be a pretty vicious composition from Colombia.
Yeah, they have, of course, more map pressure overall with the Cannon Barrage from Gangplank's, Evan RL's Gangplank. I'm sorry, not Evan RL, Misty Stumpy's Gangplank, which he's very adept at Gangplank. One of his favorite top lane champions, outside of Camille, of course. And then Rise back, going to be back on Julian with that more of that kind of quasi map, whole map pressure. Of course, whenever you mid lane, you can use that run warp pretty easily, get from lane to lane. But we do have a Vladimir in the mid lane going against the Rise, so that is going to be interesting. Not sure how I feel about it. Overall, I do like the team comp of George Mason, but they lack a lot of CC in that mid lane. Probably going to look at Firefly and Ione to make up for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be the engaged potential. Is you're basically funneling so much onto Firefly's Skarner there. And you're saying a very clear message, hey, look, we're not looking to get too aggressive before level 6. And after that, we're really going to want to group up, find the fights. I think the Tom Kench is going to add a lot to this one. Vladimir as well for route. A better draft this time for George Mason. That said, Colombia looked so strong in that first game. And this time, these are champions that they're every bit as comfortable on. Xayah for Evan RL is absolutely ferocious. Gangplank for Misty Stumpy is something that I would, wager he likes a lot more than the likes of that Gnar, and he feels a lot more comfortable on into the Ornn. So this time around, the adaptations for Colombia are there as well. We'll see if what George Mason has done is enough, because I like where the team fight idea goes, but I don't know if it's just going to be what can seal the deal.
I mean, they essentially just took Columbia College's to game 1 comp and put Vladimir instead of Rise in the mid lane. So yeah, that is interesting. And obviously you've seen it work before. You saw it work in game number 1.
Tried and true.
Yeah, very much so. So they're going to rely on these picks, especially from Skarner. That is one of the benefits of Vladimir, is that while you don't have any CC besides your Sanguine Pool being able to slow people, you do have a lot of damage. You're a nuke, and one that can sustain himself in that mid lane. So that's what Route is going to go for here. He's been able, whenever they get these picks, absolutely destroy whoever he picks up here. And that is going to be, of course, on the coordination of George Mason. And again, once again, we've seen this comp work, so it is going to be interesting. But Columbia College are going to be going back on time, kind of an old school comp of them, with Misty Stumpy in the top lane with Gangplank and bot lane bot lane Xayah Rakan. We've seen that so much, especially early college LoL, Columbia College. Again, going back to their roots, maybe that's what they've decided to do. Try to work on their base and then push forward with something new. As again, they're just kind of reshaping themselves, reinvigorating themselves at Columbia College.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, now is the time that they can really look to do some of that. So it's good to see them experiment around a little bit with some older stuff. It's good to see them still trying the newer stuff and drafting just a composition to browbeat George Mason's face in the first game. I'm excited to see, honestly, Sejuani in action. I think Zach on this, it's kind of been one of his seasonal highlights. Yeah. So with this guy in particular, that's something I do want to pay attention to. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go too heavily down into the game dissection, we do have a couple of quick little plugs, announcements to make, things of the like here. If you are new to CSL, you want to get your school a little bit more involved for next year, Discord is a great way to keep up with everything we're doing there. You can type !Discord in the chat just to stay in the loop. Come find us for some community games. The fun at CSL doesn't stop with the season, so keep looking through for opportunities there. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. That's twitter.com/CStarLeague or CSLLOL if you just want the league content. Facebook.com/CStarLeague. Keep up with all the events we're doing. I want to give a huge shout out to Twitch. Say, as always, nothing but gratitude for the largest streaming platform in all of competitive gaming to support our esports endeavors. From events like PAX East and West, what the CSL does we wouldn't be what we are today without their continued help and support. So look for cool ways to get involved with them. Twitter.com/Twitch, Facebook.com/Twitch, Twitch.tv. It's likely where you are right now, unless you're watching this on YouTube, which means that you would have gone to youtube.com/user/CStarLeague and seen all of our lovely VODs across all of our lovely esports that we do participate in. So that is all, where you can keep up with everything. Lastly, want to give a huge shout out to Juice Battery. You ever been playing a game, getting to that last critical moment, and then your controller batteries die? Well, you can avoid that with Juice Battery. 6 times the life of your standard battery, and they recharge incredibly fast. They stay charged so you can stay in the game. JuiceBattery.com to learn more. And lastly, I'll give ourselves a plug here. If you want to follow us on Twitter, the Casters, that is !Casters in the Twitch chat. You'll get our lovely links there. But with that, Beckes, we are in the game.
We are. Game number 2, best of 3. George Mason, they are down. They need to win this one to be able to come back. And Columbia College, if they win this one, they could just cement themselves one step closer to getting to LA. Now, let's reemphasize here. Round robin, 3 rounds of round robin. This is not do or die for George Mason, but this is one step forward or one step backwards. And if you take too many steps backwards, you fall off the wagon, or the mountain, whatever this really is. But regardless, you're not going to
LA. It's a wagon
LA.
on a mountain. Yeah. So if you fall off the wagon, you tumble down the mountain.
Yeah, very much so. Regardless, you're not going to be on the ride to LA. That's the big point. That's where George Mason wants to go, to be able to, once again, there's a lot of pride on the line here. They want to go to LA to cement that the South is a regional power. It's something that a lot of people overlook, and they just look at the North, they look at the West, sometimes the East, depending on who's playing during that year. But the South has been generally overlooked, and they would love to change that. Texas A&M, they are not in this for the first time, or at least not in the running to go to LA of any sort, in any form, for the first time in I don't know how long. So this is the time. George Mason, UT Dallas, this is the time for them to really shine and bring their region to the forefront.
Well, we'll see what they do with that opportunity here, because going up against Columbia, it's a tall order, but something that we hope they can rise to the occasion of. We always are in the interest of competitive matches, first and foremost. Quick little background on that pause. It was just a peripheral issue, so they did fix that. Nothing crazy. Columbia want to get a 5-man invade. This is why you draw the line of scrimmage. Sure, it seems boring sometimes, but they've spotted out in full force what Columbia is doing. This is actually going to open up a path on the top side for Ion and Firefly to go drop a ward on blue. They don't know it yet, and they don't actually seem to be that invested. So it should just be the vision war, the info war, getting won now by the side of Columbia College.
Yeah, and of course they do get that a little bit of extra gold for that shrine. Of course, GMU, they get the top side, but that actually does relieve a little bit of pressure. If Zach wants to go on to the Dragon side to get the Rift Scuttler, that means that they won't have to worry too much about Firefly having that big shrine to give him some buff whenever he starts fighting Zach. If he wants to go down there and contest, that means that Zach has a little bit more opportunity to establish vision on the bot side river going into his bot lane.
I like what we just saw there from Stumpy, taking the crystal back, just holding off Firefly a little bit, just letting them know kind of what's up, because there's no real consequence to coming to lane a little late when you have a really good idea because of that early ward that Ion is going to be helping to leash Firefly. So, well played there on the hands of Stumpy. You'll see what they can really turn. I mean, it's obviously not going to be, the crystal's already back in the hands of Firefly, so
right, yeah,
not the biggest deal in the world, but it's that small sense of the little things that Columbia do that really set them apart and make them a great team. That's just a good example to harp on so early.
Yeah, every little advantage helps, and of course, again, it does give gold, so that is something that they're looking at. Every little bit of gold helps. It's not a huge issue, but early game, and what else are you gonna do? You're just gonna stand there, like you said, go to lane, and you're not really gonna be doing much. You can still get the lane, farm the minions. Might as well have some extra gold going in. That's exactly what we just saw. So again, very nicely played. Not gonna establish too much of the connection, as we already see Firefly in that bot side river getting the Rift Scuttler.
So much more important this time around, right?
Yeah.
It's an Infernal Drake on the line. It's not this 3 Ocean. And if either of these teams are looking to make quick work of their opponents, this is the way to do it. We'll see. They might want to come in for this one. Firefly spotted out by the ward. Not going to be too big of a deal as Julian swaps out his Ignite for a teleport at this point. Says, hey, you know what? That's not anything I'm too worried about.
Yeah, route.
The early kill on the route, yeah, not likely. Sorry.
Right, yeah, no, you're exactly right. We have a gank in the top lane, though.
Yeah, Ion going to be forced to flash here. He should be able to get out of this one okay all the same. If they want to dive, it's risky here. Stumpy decides to try it, and that's I said it was risky. He had to flash out of that one. And so really not the biggest advantage in the world for Stumpy anymore because it's going to be the back for Ion. If Stumpy opts to back, he can stick around and try to sustain some of that through. But either way, it's flash for flash at this point. Route potentially going to die here.
Julian wishes he had that Ignite now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talked about the survivability of route. Not this time around. Does have to back. And so that's 2 critical bases called out for George Mason. In the meantime, CC still laying down the hurt in the bot side.
That was a heal coming out from Enrique, by the way. Even though Alex is there to gobble him up, he still used that heal. So that's a big win for the bot lane of Columbia College. Dean and Evan RL, they have them scared, and now even more so without a heal.
You gotta be careful. I mean, Tom Kench really does buy you a lot of survivability in the lane, but so many players act like it's a get-out-of-jail-free card, and when they have a Tom Kench, they play way too fast, way too loose, lose the trades, expect Tom to just do everything in that lane, and then it all goes topsy-turvy. Obviously, that's not exactly the case here with Enrique and Alex. These two play very well together, and this is a lane that they're both very comfortable with. But if anyone can abuse just that small little bit of security that you feel you get from Tom Kench, Evan and Dean seem to be making a pretty strong argument for it.
Yeah, you have to remember, Evan plays with Tom Kench quite a bit as well. Obviously, Dean followed back on it in game number 1. We've seen him play Tom Kench quite a bit throughout the season. They know exactly how to punish it because they've probably been punished themselves before. So, or at least seen gaps in their line of offense/defense. So, yeah, they definitely know strengths and weaknesses of this champion lineup, and they played to it very well. Once again, big summoner spell out for Enrique. That's huge. But other than that, this game has been pretty quiet. Besides Firefly trying to gank on the bot side, he didn't have his boots with Predator. He does now, but I do actually like the adaptation from Firefly. By the way, he knew that last game Evan RL and Dean pushed up so fast, so hard. Wants to try to take advantage of that this time around. Of course, doesn't have any CC to follow up, but it was a nice adaptation.
Maybe seeing an Infernal Drake come down. Yeah, Zach and Julian on this one. Dean can roam up as well just because of Evan's lane positioning. So Evan will be spotted running to this. George Mason should probably be putting together what's happening by this point, but it's too late. They can't do anything. Look where Firefly is. He's actually just hanging out, taking the Gromp on the other side away from Stumpy, and so likely won't even get a gank out of this. And they just effectively traded a Gromp for an Infernal Drake.
I would take that trade any day if I were Columbia College. So big up for them coming into this mid game because I mean, yeah, Fertile Drake isn't huge early game, but it does scale quite well once you get those items and that percent starts to really take effect. But Dean getting hit up by Alex, not going to be gobbled up this time around. Evan RL, they're just going to go back to farming. And this is something that Enrique has been doing well. He has been farming in the face of Evan RL very well, keeping up with the farm, but there's just so much pressure being applied in other aspects other than just farm that, and CC is bot lane, they just come ahead ever so slightly. And it's, again, same thing that happened last game, same thing's happened every season, is that the bot lane of CC, slow and steady and methodical, but very calculated and effective.
Well, you take a look at the other parts of the board. We were talking about how good George Mason has been at their farming game throughout and just their laning phase potential in general. Keep in mind that the 2 kills that they gave up earlier at the beginning of the first game, rather, were not necessarily very lane focused. It was in river roams right outside of the mid lane. Their laning phase looks traditionally strong. You take a look at Ion over Misty Stumpy right now. He's actually doing very well in this lane. You have a slight lead for Route as well, and you know he's managing the trade. So it's just the bottom lane where Columbia looked to be so much stronger. And it's only by 9 to the tune of 9 CS right now. That's not anything huge. George Mason actually has a 300 gold lead.
Yeah, that is interesting. As we have a gank in the mid lane, though, that gold lead may disappear if they can get first blood.
Yeah, we'll see if they can get onto Route. He is trying to just play this one pretty safely, keep the information moving, and Buy some time for Firefly to make Zach's life a little rough, but
Ooh.
the pool going to mean Route gets out of this one okay. Firefly was there on the wings too, so nothing too crazy potentially coming down. They are just going to keep resetting, but it's showing me that if Zach's trying to come in and get the early kills on Route, this may be something that Columbia not taking too lightly.
Very much so. And you were talking about the gold gap right now, going in favor of George Mason ever so slightly. You know, gold lead is gold lead, and they don't get too many. They didn't get too many in game number 1. I don't know if they had one at all, but so we're gonna count it here. It's going to be in that top lane because Misty Stumpy, he's not having the greatest time farming right now. His early game Gangplank doesn't really farm super well as Route just took a ton of damage for nothing. We have a gank to the bot side.
Yeah, they want to find it. Cannon Barrage has come down. Alex.
Oh, he held on to it.
Can potentially get out, but look at the downtown. Enrique using his heal. He's gone all in on surviving and just will not. So 2 kills coming over to Columbia in very stylish fashion. I mean, they came out and just slammed this one down, and now this tower potentially in some trouble. The bot lane, it's where they like to post out for those early game first moves, and no surprises this time.
Yeah, not at all. Usually it's to get the Drake, but they already had that, and they had the engage from Dean still. So that was actually very nice by Zach to hold on. Well, hold on. I say hold on. Hold on. We have a gank in the mid lane.
This is going to be the flash in. They're going to find it onto Julian. He's likely in no shape to survive this one, but he does get a slapback kill onto Firefly, and that's not what you want if you are the side of George Mason University here. So, going to set things back just a little bit, and 1 for 1 in the mid lane, giving a kill over to Rise. He's going to be happy with that every single time.
Very much so. And taking the jungler off the map as well, that takes so much pressure off of CC, especially their bot lane if they want to shove up for a few more minutes here, or 4 more seconds, I should say. But that is huge. Whenever you're ganked in the mid lane, ganked in any lane, if you can get a return kill, a 2v1, that is almost automatically a win for that one individual. So very nicely played by Julian, able to get Firefly in that exchange. That was
yeah, the only thing I can think of in terms of the gold switching around is there is at least an assist for the team that brought 2,
right.
But that's so negligible in the grand scheme of things that, yeah, you're right. It always is going to be a huge confidence boost for Julian there, even though he did die. It's going to make sure that he feels really capable in just taking these 1v1s with Route. And even if the tower was brought into it, sure, even if Firefly was tanking too much, doesn't matter. Call the Forge God in the top lane. Not going to mean too much. Trying to get the kill on Stumpy, but Ione, with no mana, won't be able to push that one any further.
Yeah, it was a relatively poor timing for that Call of the Forge God, and Zach is actually hanging out in the top side area as well. Going to go invade into Firefly. Firefly's jungle, but yeah, Ione, he may have actually just used that to pick up some minions, actually. We're going to see possibly an engage on the bot side.
Ooh, yeah, well, there's the Tom Kench Devour. Yep. Enrique staying safe this time through. Did take a little bit of damage on the front end, and that's what's really going to stick to him. See now if we see a potential gank here in this mid lane. Could be a 2v2 as Firefly is there to dissuade as well. It does not connect with the Glacial Prison, so this could be actually bad for Zach. Teleport's coming down from both top laners. Stumpy's there first, but Ione had the better ward. This could mean bad news for Julian. Firefly gonna get out of this one just barely. Are you kidding me? And now Julian trying to realm warp away, doesn't get it! And Route with the flash makes sure that one comes through. Stumpy on the run, should be able to get out of this one okay, but still not what they wanted from the side of Columbia. That was a gank they were gung-ho about pulling off, and both Zach and Julian fall by the wayside for that one. And, you know, much better play in this second game than in the first time around from George Mason here, Fekez.
Yeah, very much so. That was poor positioning by Columbia College and nicely played. Again, Route, he does have Single Pull, so he has a kind of a get out of jail free card. He also has... well, he had Cleanse. He doesn't have Cleanse anymore. He has Teleport now, but he also has Flash available. So there was a lot to let on the side of George Mason to get themselves out of that they didn't absolutely need because of the poor positioning from Columbia College. Not to mention Zach whiffed his Glacial Prison, so that didn't bode too well for them either. But with that being said, George Mason, yes, they get kills, but the objective is still going over to Columbia College. They're able to pick up the bot lane turret, and now they're going to pick up the Drake. Just the Ocean Drake, unless Firefly has something to say about it, but Dean gonna
I don't think he can steal here.
No, I can't. Oh, is he going in? No, he probably... Never mind. He's not going in. We have a gank on the top side.
Call the Forge God knocks up Misty Stumpy. Route is there. The Cannon Barrage, such a good, effective anti-gank measure, but Route with the flash in should have it here in just a second. One more shot will do it. And he pulls over the barrel, which means Stumpy is not getting out of this one alive. Route will back. Ione will damage the tower a little bit, and Julian is on the run up. We'll see if he gets there in time.
Yeah, a little bit of, oh, he's going in there. He's so fast.
Yeah, I mean, just look at that speed. He's got the lockup. The Bellows Breath gonna try to get him out of this one.
Missile
Alex
Voyage!
here with Firefly. We'll see whether that they get Ion out of this one because the shielding is an option.
Oh my God.
But the Glacial Prison does lock up Firefly. The teleport's coming down through. This is Route coming back to lane. And mission impossible accomplished. They keep Ion alive throughout all that. And a pretty crucial ultimate from Zach as well. So a lot of the engage of Columbia College taken off the table with what they attempted to find there. Onto Firefly and Ion.
Yeah, very much so. I feel like Columbia College, they are forcing so much here, like they did in the latter half of game number 1. And George Mason, they're playing it cool and collected. They're actually able to take advantage. They're still down in gold because of the turret, because of the first blood. But so far, they've been kind of scouting out the positioning here of Columbia College and taking advantage. So if they can keep this going in the mid game, they may have something going for them. Possibly bring this into a game number 3. This is extremely exciting for them, but Route, he might be in trouble here.
Well, Zach wants to find it. Keep in mind, there is no Glacial Prison this time around. Yeah, you talk about that. This is the manifestation. He's running on wards. There's no bush that in this top side Columbia doesn't have vision of, and it just doesn't matter because of the way they timed it out and the ultimate being missing from Zach now. If just bringing one player doesn't work, hey, let's bring up 2. This is going to be the rotation. Evan RL and Dean are down there. Ion and Stumpy have subverted to the bottom lane where they're just going to look to keep bashing each other on down. All of the pressure currently around the top side for both of these teams. Looks like George Mason have more people here. That's going to be the flash in from Firefly. The suppress coming down. Evan RL trying to get out of this one with the ultimate and actually does a good job, but the curtain call's coming out. Doesn't matter. Interrupted by Zach. The Rift Herald just wants to get a little swings in for the fun of it. No, not on anybody's side. Just tree bearding around, swinging it whatever's convenient.
Yeah, that's again, that was actually initiated by GMU, but that's because they had a target. I don't consider them actually forcing that. They just didn't get the job done. The rotations of Columbia College there, and of course Evan RL, very slippery. Evan RL had to use both his flash, his heal, and his ultimate to get out of that. So let's keep that in mind. That will not be available for the next few minutes. So that might be something that Firefly wants to pull the trigger on once again with that Impale. He doesn't have flash to work with, but he might be able to catch him out. And with no flash or a heal on Evan RL, might be able to get killed this time around, or next time I should say, if it happens. But as I say that, Rift Herald being taken up by Columbia College, but they're getting collapsed on, so they need to be careful here.
Evan could roam down from this top side, and Julian there going to be a pretty big deterrent, but yeah, with all George Mason pushing in onto this one, they actually might want to try to find the Rift Tail for themselves. Glacial Prison does not land yet again. It's stolen by Firefly. And if he can pick this one up, this is a totally revitalized GMU. They're looking so much better in this second game. They're keeping up. They're still down at the tower. They're still down. Keep in mind, a couple K in gold there. But man alive, they are playing with such a better definition this time around. And really, here at 16 minutes, keeping Columbia from blowing anything too wide open.
Yeah, I'm very impressed by how well they're playing this. I mean, not taking anything away from George.
Yeah, we shouldn't sound so surprised, right?
Yeah. No, we definitely shouldn't be. Not taking anything away from them, but, you know, it's night and day from game number 1. But again, Columbia College, they looked like they were sort of, again, forcing things, maybe even tilting in game number 1 on that latter half, but they were so far ahead, it didn't matter. This time around, it's actually transferred into this game where they're not so far ahead, and George Mason, they are taking advantage. Now, with that being said, they still need the macro game. They don't have that down. They are getting the team fights in their favor. They're not getting all the kills that they want, but they are getting the summoners, they are getting the offense that they want, and keeping Columbia College on the back foot. But with these objectives going down in favor of Columbia College, it's going to start slipping away from George Mason to where they can't have him on the back foot, where Columbia College, if they make a mistake, they can afford to because of the power swing with these objectives, with these turrets, with this turret goal.
Yeah, we saw it last game. I mean, the turrets really did just open the map up so much for Columbia that there was very little side of George Mason can do, and that was particularly around 4 towers to 0 is when that really, or 4 towers to 1 maybe, when it all started getting a little rough. This time around there is, oh hang on, call the Forge God coming down. They want to find Evan RL. He's going to jump up at the right time, but look at his health bar. It's not in great shape. Route's going to find him, and meanwhile they are dragging back Dean into the middle of things. He flashes, but it's all for naught. And look at this, George Mason popping the Rift Herald here in the middle of the lane. Shelly will come out to play, and this tower is going down.
Very much so. Nice pop of that Rift Herald. Nice timing. They had that turret completely gone with the Rift Herald out their back as well. Honestly, I would have almost waited to like to see them wait to use that. Just take that Rift Herald, but they might be trying to cut off Misty Stumpy here as they talk about that.
Yeah, they want to find it.
Not gonna happen.
Nah. Just gonna back on off. So now we have a Mountain Drake this time around. Columbia did find 3 out of 4 Drakes last game. Didn't get to a 5th Drake potential. It was 2 Oceans and a Mountain for themselves. This time George Mason want to find themselves a Dragon as well. They did squeak out 1. It was a sneak this time around. If they fight around it, it is going to be a fight indeed. But I don't think that's going to come to fruition just yet. There's still some side wave patrolling the likes of George Mason really need to handle here. They're not as worried about top lane, but yeah, no, they're just backing right off. So after this, if we get the Cloud Drake, it'll be the full sampler pack coming out. And it is another Ocean, actually, so not quite the most diverse range of dragons we could see, but, you know, the game is still young. This is definitely potential for 5 elemental. Is 5 the most you go? Oh, hang on. We're coming in for Zach over the wall. That is going to be the Cannon Barrage as well. It was nicely avoided by Enrique and Alex, and Ione teleporting in wants to maybe turn this fight around. They try to get in onto Julian, but Enrique has gone down in the meantime, and while this is going on, Route, their star damage player right now, the 4-0 and 2-1 is not there. And they maybe get a little bit big for their britches this time around from George Mason. We'll see if they can opt to defend the tower now that Route is in the picture, but without Enrique, this should be a nice little point back on the board for Columbia College.
Yeah, Route needs to be in these team fights. He is the big damage source if Enrique goes down, and you see the ultimates up from both Firefly and Route right now. They had a lot of potential there, but Route just could not make it into that fight, and that is a huge difference maker in a game like this where it's so close. And to answer your question, by the way, 3 unique dragons per game.
No, not 3 unique dragons. Just the max number of elementals if you time out everything right before Elder Drake spawns.
Oh, that one's interesting. That one I'm actually
it's either 5 or 6, and I'm just not remembering right.
Yeah, either way, they do have the sample file, like you said, so the next one will add to that Ocean Drake. They definitely want the Infernal to come up, so they want to be able to take that as fast as possible to be able to get that RNG going and try to get anything that they can, because honestly, this game may go into the late game, and the more Drakes you have into the late game when the Elder Dragon spawns, that is going to be huge for you if you can take that, because the more you get, the more true damage you get, and of course that also buffs up the current Drakes you have, and that is something that Columbia College will have the advantage of thus far if they keep up this pace with the objective control, as they do stack up, and you have to plan for that sort of thing. I do want to see George Mason be able to take that a little bit more to the fight at Columbia College whenever they take these Drakes, because they are very important, especially, again, once you get into the late game.
We'll see what George Mason can manage to pull out here. An Ocean Drake even, yeah, would be huge for them. Obviously, right now, the neutral objective on the board is, of course, Mr. Baron Nashor. Something that they need to be incredibly ready to play around. I don't love what I'm seeing here from Route, the one in the bot lane managing the split push. Obviously, he's the one that can go toe-to-toe with Stumpy right now. Stumpy's still even ahead of Ione, but hang on, we have a problem here in the mid lane for George Mason. They're getting engaged on, and Evan RL finds that first kill. Some action coming down to the bot lane as Route does get himself a kill, but this is what I was calling into criticism. He's on the bottom side of the map. He is not with his team. And so, yes, he got that 1 kill, but this should be more for the side of Columbia. They're trying to go in deep. There's Call of the Forge God coming out. They're going to knock up nobody. Actually, no, it only does find the back line, and Dean does go down. Enrique finds 2 kills on this one, and Columbia, Becca, as you talked about it, they're forcing, and George Mason are forcing right back. The flank coming out from Route here could be huge, especially they're slowing up Evan RL. Did they buy enough time? Route, not in the best of health, but hey, neither is Julian. He has to flash out of this one. And Route's going to flash right back in. Julian going to go down to this one. Ione takes that kill away, and Evan RL slaps back with another. Route does get taken down, but it's 4 healthy members of George Mason right around this Baron. Misty Stumpy is finished coming up. They're not going to have enough time. They don't feel comfortable without Route. And that was a mess just across the board.
That was a huge mess, that is for sure. That was Route. Like, yeah, I don't know why Route is in the bot side. He didn't have teleport to work with. And he is the big damage source. We saw once he got in, he you know, when Columbia College started forcing a bit more. Yeah, Route took out Misty Stumpy, but you're still going to lose a tower. And if you start losing towers, you know, over these kills, you're going to end up losing the game, because that's where the gold is. Route being shut down, that is good. That went over to Evan RL. The whole team did get that, of course, that dispersion gold as well. But Route, he needs to be in these team fights. And if you're not in these team fights and you take teleport, I don't know why he was on that bot side. Yeah, he can battle Misty Stumpy, but I don't think that should have been your priority at that time, especially when it could have been a 4v5 in the mid lane. And with Route there, could have easily been able to withstand the onslaught of Columbia College, forcing that turret. And, you know, props to Columbia College. They forced it. They got the turret. But, you know, if George Mason were in the right place at the right time with all their pieces, could have easily withstood that and probably taken the fight back and maybe even got a Baron after that fight.
I mean, the threats from George Mason are just so much more potent this game around. Route in the mid lane. We saw Zoriana not as impressive this time around. The Vladimir really working for the guy. Enrique, supportive on Jhin. Not been, you know, outstanding, but he's just been dishing out the damage. Not been outstanding in terms of numbers. I think he's been actually outstanding in terms of his team fight play throughout. Does have more deaths than most, but look at that call. The Forge God's coming down. Alex into the middle of things. They want to find it. Cannon Barrage is down. The health bars are getting low, but Alex has that. Can they find Evan? They're trying to, but Julian gets the first kill of the fight, and Route with the Zanya's pop may be trouble for the side of George Mason. Ion trying to get back there, and it's so far just the support dead. But yeah, the back line from Stumpy. Look at the barrel set up to kill Firefly. That is classic Stumpy. As now Ion is left all alone in the cold, cruel world where Evan RL makes the rules, and he gets himself a kill. Stumpy tacking another one onto the board. And Columbia with a breakout fight put this game solidly back in their favor, Fekis.
That was an ace, and that is going to be Baron. One team fight is all it took for Columbia College to take control of this game. That's the problem whenever you're so close at levels in the game right now at gold. You cannot make one mistake, because if you do, something like this happens where you get ace and then the Baron goes over to your opponent, and now they are almost 10k goal ahead, just like that, like a drop of a hat. No problem. Columbia College, nice positioning in the jungle, breaking themselves up, and that was George Mason forcing that fight. And Columbia College playing a little bit cool, collective, coming back, and Misty Stumpy getting on that back lines. He's powerful. Let's not forget about Misty Stumpy. He hasn't been in these team fights, but he has been farming this entire time. 228 right now, not the highest farm, but he has quite a bit. He has the items he needs, the Starex and the Triforce. He is very beefy right now, and Misty Stumpy, now that he's in these team fights, are going to make a world of difference for Columbia College.
And keep in mind, too, they can now, with the Baron, set up the perfect split push for themselves, because they have the teleport still on Stumpy. They've been saving it this entire time. And an Ocean Drake coming to the party here? Are you kidding me? This is insane from the likes of Columbia. They've just been set up like that. With one fell swoop, they break this game wide open for themselves. And one more Infernal on the docket here, but something tells me Columbia are going to look to try to finish before that even becomes a factor. 6 minutes the timer's on. Can George Mason try to find this one out? They are going to get some nice CC combos onto Stumpy. Unfortunately, He has some oranges to eat. And they bring in Alex as well, so this means the bot lane going to be pretty hard to defend.
What are these resources?
One. Are you kidding me? They're really just spitting out so much for Stumpy, and it costs them a tower in the bot lane. Potentially a second one coming out here. Yeah, this is bad news for George Mason. They tunneled in very, very hard onto the likes of Misty Stumpy, and now they are paying the price for it. The inhibitor is the collection for Columbia College. Whew.
You cannot put that many resources. 3 members, 3 ultimates in the top side for 1 member, Misty Stumpy, who didn't even go down instantly, which is something that should happen when you put 3v1. You should be taking somebody down instantly, but not the case here in that top side. And Columbia College, they saw that like, all right, and just shove into the bot side, take the inhibitor. That is not worth it for George Mason, and this is where they start to crumble. They had that one bad team fight, and now they're having trouble with communication, it looks like, and decision making, and it looks like they are falling apart.
And that's a hallmark of a great team like Columbia, too, that they can play a game a little bit through on the sloppy side and still come out and find the one thing that they need to just turn the game entirely online. So George Mason, not out of this one yet. You know, they still have some very big threats, and they still have some potential to lock down kills, just like this one. Julian flashing out the Realm Warp. Not going to get him anywhere. Enrique finds himself a kill. And those are the kind of picks you're looking to make. They will eventually have to peel off and start to police this bot lane a little bit. But with that, you know, they cripple a lot of what Columbia is looking to do in terms of setting up this siege.
Yeah, very much so. They have to back off a little bit here. George Mason there playing on the defense, but now Columbia College with 1 down. Rise, their mid lane AP player here. Need to be on the back foot as well. Play a little defensive. Just establish some vision where they can, and then go back, pick up some items, pick up their respective buffs, and come back that much stronger in this next team fight, because now they are at the point where Columbia College, they can team fight and still, you know, again, risk a mistake or two in team fights and still win, being this far ahead right now. And that's something they are looking to do as we see the super minions pushing into the bot side. We don't have any focus on that top side yet. There's no split push from Misty Stumpy. He has teleport up too, so he's going to be just chilling on that bot side, creating even more pressure. A little bit questionable, honestly. Usually go with the lane that has something to take, but they're going to choose not to this time around. Route, though, let's keep in mind here, doesn't have teleport yet.
Yeah, this is just Stumpy buying some pressure. He doesn't really care. He wants Route to be able to come in and try to deal with him, because I think Route at this point is the only one who can. And so Route without teleport, if Stumpy can buy a whole lot of his attention, means that he's not there to fight when the rest of the team would need him. Potentially exploitable. Now they are dragging back in. Zach having to flash out. Call of Forge got coming down, but there's the cannon barrage. Can Ion get into this one? Dean is doing so much damage, and look at this.
Yes,
this is bad news for Enrique. He has to flash out. And Alex actually eats up Firefly. Now Route, this entire time, this is what he talked about. He wasn't there to get the damage down. The health bars are too low from the rest of his team. And this is going to be another tower for Columbia.
Yeah, Mrs. Stumpy teleported up there. That means that George Mason has absolutely no chance. With that low of health bars, one barrel will completely destroy them. They have to back up, restore the health, and at the same time,
inhibitor.
Yeah, give up an inhibitor here.
Oof, ouch, owie, my base. And they're all out in the Realm Warp. Beautiful play. Columbia, the side lanes, pushing in all day for them. They have one more lane to crack open. And then it's, you know, putting themselves up 1-0 in terms of the actual play-ins score there. 2-0 over George Mason would feel pretty good for them, even if they did lilt a little bit at the start of this game.
Yeah, they definitely need to correct that one, because any other, like, I mean, I'm not saying George Mason took advantage, but they weren't able to take advantage enough. But if you have a little bit more of a calm, collected team that can, you know, keep their communication under control, it might spell doom for Columbia College. Looks like right now they're going to weather the storm here and survive long enough to where those mistakes won't matter. But George Mason, it looked like they were going to bring this into a game number 3, at least threaten a game number 3 early on. But again, right now, it's definitely taken off in favor of Columbia College. All going right back to that ace, that one team fight, completely turned the tides in Columbia College's favor, and they've not let up since then, I should say, as we see the Baron and the Drake coming up pretty soon. You said it was the Infernal Drake, so that's going to be a huge contingent point, but you think at this point, maybe the Baron is just the best part here.
Either one, I feel like, is going to be great for Columbia, because they can just draw out George Mason. They know they don't want to give up either of these objectives, and drawing them out and away from the base and catching them in a fight in the jungle is just paramount for Columbia to be able to break right into the base. And sure, they can set up the siege, but if they can just win a team fight so far away from the base that they don't have to worry about the towers, their minions are just going to be continuing to crash in, you know, that's great news for Columbia. And it's something that either way, you know, we talked about those split decisions. Do you go fight them out of your base? Do you turtle hold them in the base? Either way, Columbia has a plan for it and are going to look to make themselves profit off of the eventual result.
Route is still pretty powerful. It's going to be up to him, especially to get this massive powering. But look at Columbia College. They're actually not even caring about the dragon. They're just going to go for the turret, or at least pressure it.
Well, look at that. They did pick it up, take it on out of that one. So they do have an Infernal to boot there. It's going to help them match a little bit. Ooh. Columbia doesn't care. They're right into the Baron pit, actually, here.
Realm warping.
Oof. Yeah. Now they're going to take this one out massively and bring things back up here. Bad news for the likes of George Mason. They're going to have to do a lot to police this one out now. They were having a hard time defending against a non-Baroned up team. They got themselves an Infernal Drake, but what does it matter at this point? They're going to be able to return to this bot lane, potentially crack open the mid as well, and Columbia are starting to put the finishing touches on this game.
And that's the beautiful thing about the chess game of League of Legends as well. Yeah, Columbia College, they could have taken that second Infernal Drake, but they already have 4 Drakes. They don't really need that 5th Drake, that second Infernal Drake. It is nice to have. They don't absolutely need it. They're bigger fish to fry, so you put your pieces in place here, you predict where the enemy is going to go, and then act upon that. So Very nicely played by Columbia College. Knew that they were going to go for that Infernal Drake, seeing that Columbia College was not contesting it. Decided to push up very hard with the banner empowered minion, by the way, into that mid lane. And then Realm Warp themselves over into the Baron Pit. Very nice pieces. Again, pieces like chess pieces being put around the rift right now. In Columbia College, they are maneuvering George Mason exactly where they want him to. But George Mason, they may be looking for something here.
Yeah, call the Forge God. They know it's a last-ditch effort. They're coming in onto Dean. He is out of that one. Cannon Barrage is down. Rout's in a little bit of trouble now. Can they make that happen? Enrique gets the first kill, and it is only on to Dean. Ion's health bar quite low as they're going back. Julian does find that one. Stumpy as well in the back lines and does sacrifice himself. But the damage dealers of Columbia stay alive, and the same cannot necessarily be said for George Mason, which means it's a double kill for Enrique. But it's a double inhibitor coming down now for Columbia. They actually just want to push on to the end of the game. Evan, you can't get that cocky. This is dangerous. There is coming down now with the curtain call. They want to find Firefly. Can they make something happen here? Evan's health bar, not where it needs to be, but they're okay with that. They'll take another inhibitor, and this should likely be the game if Julian can just manage to help his team get these towers down. Yeah, the minions are going to be too much at this point. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will be Columbia College in 34 minutes, and not as convincing of a game 2, but a game 2-1 all the same. That will be putting themselves up 1-0 in the play-in stage with a quick 2-0 over George Mason University.
Yeah, very nice play. I guess they cleaned up their sloppy play into nice play. That's one thing about Columbia College. When they have an advantage, they know how to press it very hard, and they usually know how to get the advantage, but man, you could see the cockiness getting to them. You could see that they force so much for so long, way more than they should have, into the late game of game number 1, into the early to mid game of game number 2, and then finally they got one team fight, and it's to the point where, you know, Columbia College, I think they thrive best at whenever they can get into a position where they can force those things and be cocky and not be punished for it. That's when they thrive, because yeah, they get cocky, and if a team like Maryville is able to punish them, then they don't do so well. George Mason not able to stand up to them this time around, but again, 3 rounds of round robin, they have another chance to get themselves into LA. Absolutely,
and keep in mind, you know, we should expect to see them quite stronger than the representative from the Peach Belt in this conference. The Big Ten representative as well, Illinois. This is where I'm starting to ask some questions. You know, George Mason showed a lot of improvement just from game 1 to game 2. They looked so much better. They're drafting smart, and they're playing to a level that, you know, something that anyone who watched them during the regular season might have said, okay, you know what, this is they're hitting their stride at the right time. Now, George Mason versus Illinois is going to be a really interesting matchup. Columbia, sure, taking an early lead, and that means at the same time Illinois is going to be playing the college from Georgia. I believe that's North Georgia.
Georgia College, I think is actually.
There are 2 actually. There's North Georgia. There's Georgia. They're both. Good for the Peach Belt, right? That
Very
Georgia.
Much so.
Hey, my home state representing. What's up, guys? I'm rooting for all of them. But in this particular instance, you would expect, you know, just the way that this is set up this year, this is going to be likely a free win, I say, for George Mason. Coming out for the Peach Belt, I don't think any of us expect the Peach Belt to take any games out of the rest of their opponents this time around. So that just means it does really come down to, for that second spot out behind Columbia, perhaps who we would expect to beat Illinois maybe in a perfect world as well. Illinois versus George Mason getting very interesting is the point that I'm circling around here.
Yeah, actually, Maryland, I believe on our C-Star League 2 channel, while this was going on, we had dual cast today. I think actually it was a Big Ten versus a Peach Belt conference, and I'm pretty sure it was Maryland versus, I don't remember which.
Yes, GC.
GC, yeah, and I'm pretty sure Maryland ran over them pretty decisively. So, but again, I haven't checked to see updates. I haven't checked to see if there's any comebacks, but. No, your point stands. Peach Belt Conference, they're new. It's something that people were looking at the Big Ten last year. Big Ten wasn't making, you know, they made the splash with just the recognition, the saturation of that, hey, we're here. We are going to play into the play-ins and, you know, be a presence here. That's kind of what the Peach Belt Conference is doing right now as they're building their program. Hopefully next year we'll get a little bit more competitiveness out of that conference as well.
Well, we will see how that all does transpire. But ladies and gentlemen, in the meantime, that is going to do it for the first broadcast of the day. We have more League of Legends action coming up, if you can believe it. And more particularly in the JV, we have Robert Morris versus Johns Hopkins. I believe that's coming up in just 15 short minutes here. right here on this channel. I think that's going to be Returned and Mad Magical, bringing you guys all the action for that one.
Yep.
So don't go anywhere. We're going to have a little bit more action coming up today, but this will conclude our coverage of George Mason falling to Columbia College 2-0. My name is Kyle Corbus-Crow. I've been joined at the desk today by Joshua Fekes. We're going to take a little bit of time in between these broadcasts, let the next guys get all set up, but more League of Legends action coming your way in just 15 short minutes. Thanks for sticking around, and don't go anywhere.